diving into a topic that's exciting for watch collectors and investors alike, the top 5 wristwatches to invest in for 2024. But here's the twist. I'm separating this episode into 2 parts, so we're actually going to be talking about 10 watches total today. The first 5 are going to be kind of heavy hitters. They're for the big spenders out there. They're not going to be entry level by any means. But the last 5 watches we talk about are going to be watches under $1,000 that I think have a lot of room for appreciation and I think are very good purchases right now. So let's jump right in. It is 3:08 p.m. Let's get down to business. Okie dokie, let's start out with our first section. Now these are watches, again, that are going to be kind of heavy hitters and they're for the big spenders out there. Now remember, when we're talking about the watches in today's episode, everything I'm saying is based upon market trends, historical performance, and a bit of gut feeling. So take everything I say with a grain of salt and please make your own informed decisions when you're spending money and looking to invest. Nothing I say today is financial advice. Okay, so first up, we're gonna get this one right out of the way. A Rolex Submariner, but specifically the new Kermit. Now, this is a 41mm Rolex, and for those of you who've been paying attention to the watch world for a little while, you'll know there's something very strange about wristwatches and the color green. Typically, they're not very desirable up front, but then later on, they appreciate. Like any Rolex specifically that has green on it tends to do quite well later on. Now, the interesting thing about this specific green Rolex is that there wasn't really a lull. Like the second it came out, it was very, very popular. Now, if you're a lucky person who's able to get one of these Kermits at retail, then you're immediately going to make an average of like $6,000 on that purchase. It's crazy. Like, this is so hot right now. If you can get one at MSRP, do so. So, if you have the money to spend and you got a good relationship with your AD, buy one of these Kermits right now, and even if you don't like the color green, just sit on it and you'll make some money later. Just sit on it and make some money later. Sounds like something you'd say to a prostitute, I just realized. All right, moving on to yet another classic, probably one of the most prolific chronographs ever, the Omega Speedy. Now I know what you're thinking. They've made 1 million Moonwatches. They've made 1 million Speedies. There's like a ton of them out there. None of them really appreciate all that much unless you get one of the 1 million limited edition Omegas that Omega produces every year. But I'm talking specifically about the Sapphire Sandwich. There's a reason this watch is very, very desirable. Now, my Omega Speedmaster is actually one of the dastardly limited editions, and it is the Hesalite. Now, from a collector standpoint, I really like Hesalite, very classic, but it's not seen as wearable of a material as a sapphire crystal would be. People really like this era of Moonwatch because of that sapphire and because this one has a display case back showing off a beautiful movement. So if you're looking to have a very significant piece of horological history and you're looking to have something that might appreciate in the future, the Sapphire Sandwich Speedy is actually a very good option right now. Moving up a price range, the AP Royal Oak, this is a reference number 15500ST, stainless steel case and bracelet, clean dial, slightly oversized case, 41mm. Now, why do I think this is a great purchase right now? Well, if you have the money, historically speaking, these stainless steel clean dial APROs tend to do very, very well because everyone ends up wanting one. It's crazy. The offshores, very hit or miss. Some of the APROs that have a bunch of complications and these weirder dials and skeleton and tourbillon and all this bullshit, those are kind of hit or miss on the secondhand market. But it seems like every collector keeps coming back to the idea of having a clean, classic stainless steel AP Royal Oak, and that's why they do so well secondhand. Now moving up even further when it comes to hefty price tags, a Patek Philippe Nautilus. Now I know what you're thinking. Ugh, I'm rolling my eyes so hard they're gonna fall out of my head. 5711 1A 014. This is the green dial Nautilus. Now, if you have the money for this watch, I'm sure you don't even need me to tell you to buy this watch. This, again, has that weird green dial curse where when it was released, people thought it was ugly, but now they go for like mid 200,000 to like 300,000 depending on the condition. Crazy money for this fairly like simple watch, to be honest. Am I allowed to say that about the Nautilus? Regardless of what I say about this watch, this is perhaps one of the most desirable Nautiluses ever. I don't know why. I like the color green. A lot of people hate it. But again, if you have the money to spend, if you find one in decent condition, I'll say for less than $200,000, you're still probably going to make money on that watch, which is just an insane thing to consider. Now moving on to the fifth watch in this section. Now, this is going to come off as very entry level in comparison to some of the other watches we just mentioned. This is easily the most affordable watch, again, in this first section of the video. Tudor Black Bay. I know what you're thinking. Wow, you mentioned one of the most expensive Nautiluses ever, and now we're looking at a Tudor Black Bay. But hear me out. This is the Harrods edition. Green! I don't know what the fuck is going on with the color green. I think personally, this is one of the nicest Black Bays, and if I had to own one, I would try to get this. Unfortunately, prices have gone up quite a bit, but if you're able to get one reasonably priced, you're probably still gonna make a bunch of money on it later on as time goes by. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is kind of an obvious choice because this is a collaborative kind of limited edition. Still, gorgeous watch, functional watch, relatively affordable compared to some of the other watches we spoke about, and I think a very good buy, and I think it will definitely appreciate in the future. Okay, I may have given you guys an ulcer talking about some of the more expensive watches. I know when I was looking at the prices of them, I was like, ugh. Wait, hold on. They're this expensive and they're gonna go up? But let's shift gears a bit to the more budget-friendly options. I mean, just because you're not spending tens of thousands of dollars on a watch doesn't mean you can't make a smart investment on a very nice timepiece. Let's take a look at 5 more watches under $1,000 that I think could appreciate in the future. First up, a G-Shock. I know what you're thinking, like, what? G-Shock and appreciation doesn't really make sense. These are essentially plastic watches. Here's the thing. If you buy a G-Shock Frogman and you're smart about it, you could still very well make money on that purchase. It's insane. I know personally, like I've sold multiple Frogmen at my shop, and like some watches that came out at like the $650, $700 mark from G-Shock ended up selling for like a few $1,000s. So if you get a G-Shock Frogman specifically, I don't know why, those are the most desirable models of G-Shock modules. If you're able to get one at retail, own it, have fun with it, hang on to it for a little while, sell it, you'll probably still make a pretty darn good penny. Next up, out of left field, a Citizen watch. And I know what you're thinking, Citizen. They make very affordable timepieces, very solid timepieces. They've almost overtaken where Seiko used to be. I agree with all of those points, because I'm the one that said it. But I'm talking specifically about some of these Zenshin mechanical watches. You know, Citizen is known for their eco-drive movements here in the United States, but in Asia, specifically Japan, they have a whole series of watches that compete with like Grand Seikos. Maybe not in the finishing, maybe not with the dial presentation, but with the elegance and refinement, there's a whole premium series of Citizen watches in Japan that go for big money. If you try to order them here in the United States, you're going to be spending a couple $1,000s. Now, these Zenshin mechanical watches, you can actually get for under $1,000, and they're very sharp, very sporty, very sleek, just very impressive. And I think if you purchase one now, especially if you can get one, again, under the $1,000 mark, they're uncommon. You don't see a ton of them out there, and you're just gonna have a great watch that, again, I think if you were looking to sell later on, you'd be able to kind of either make money or at least, you know, hedge your investment pretty well. Now, speaking of watches coming out of Japan, the last 3 affordable investment pieces in this series are all Seikos, okay? And I know it's kind of a cop-out to mention Seiko, and it actually is kind of heartbreaking to mention Seiko because, well, I was like the #1 Seiko fanboy. That's probably why a lot of you guys in the watch world dislike me, is because pretty much for like, I don't know, over 50% of my career here as a watch YouTuber, I was like, Seiko, Seiko, Seiko. Now, well, let's just think of it as like a relationship that went south. We're not really on speaking terms anymore. But regardless of my heartbreak when it came to a former lover known as Seiko Watch Corporation, they still have some watches that are incredibly desirable that you can get for under $1,000 that somehow keep going up. Like the Seiko Sarbo 17, right? The watch that everyone thinks of when you think of the Alpinist. Green dial, love it, hate it, who cares? They go up and up on the secondhand market. You can still find some in decent condition for under $1,000, and I would urge you, if you don't have one already, you should definitely pick one up because you can sell one and make money on your purchase. Next up, the Seiko SKX 007. It's kind of crazy saying this, that some of these are floating around the $1,000 mark, and brand new full set, they go well above $1,000. But like, you know, they made a bajillion of these, dude. I've gone personally through like 4 of them because I just love them and beat the crap out of them. But anyway, I could gush on and on about the gateway drug that is the Seiko SKX 007. You know, it kind of did bring all of us into this hobby. Bottom line, if you're able to find one in decent condition, dude, enjoy it, wear it. I'm not telling you to sell any of the watches on this list, but you know, mark my words, in like 10 years, Seiko's gonna come out with a reissue of the SKX. So, yeah, crazy watch, and they sell for crazy money right now. And last but not least, the Seiko Blue Enamel, the Sarks series of watches. This had crazy detail, incredible watch, beautiful presage piece, and unfortunately they keep going up. So you can find some under $1,000 if you're interested in a nice dress watch that you can enjoy for a while and then end up flipping if you have to. This is an absolute great choice. But there you have it, guys. You don't have to do anything I say, obviously, and again, none of this is financial advice. I don't even recommend investing in wristwatches, but I mean, when we look at some data online, punch some numbers, you know, I'm a numbers guy. There are some watches that are objectively, you know, better purchases than others when it comes to making some money secondhand, or at least, you know, hedging your investment when you're talking about purchasing a watch and potentially selling it later. But let me know what you think. What watch would you pick on this list? And do you have any on the list? Does anyone have that Patek Nautilus, the green dial? Where do you keep it, and what's the combination to your safe? All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman, the time teller, and always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.